Have you ever walked down a busy street or driven around your city and it seems to you that no one is walking with purpose anymore? And if you drive a car, there's a pretty good chance that the thought that you're a better driver than the average has crossed your mind at least once. And this isn't just about driving. Think about it. How often do you catch yourself thinking that you're more self-aware than most people, more emotionally intelligent, that if people just listened to you, things will turn for the better, that your circumstances haven't caught up to what you truly deserve? Either way, we humans love to think of ourselves as separate from the commoner, often better, often above the average, and perceptive beyond the grasp of the masses. And in our most private moments, we might even be exceptional. We replay discussions and arguments in our heads and win them perfectly every time, and dream up scenarios in which we strike existential gold and bask in the culmination of our effort. We imagine the unmanifested recognition that we think we deserve, and we carry around a burning sense that the world hasn't seen us clearly yet. Dostoevsky observed this feeling, a very human and very intimate feeling, and he dissected the human condition in such a raw and poetic way. In Notes from Underground, written in 1864, Dostoevsky takes us into the mind of a man who believes that he is truly exceptional. He's more conscious, more sensitive, more intelligent than everyone around him. And then the author shows the reader with devastating precision how convoluted that appears from the outside. When most people hear Notes from Underground, they probably imagine something quite dramatic, perhaps a rebel, a revolutionary hiding from society in their own intellectual world. But the original Russian word Dostoevsky uses, podpolye, is more poignant and much stranger than that. It doesn't just mean underground in the physical sense. Podpolye implies something hidden, something suppressed and almost deemed illegitimate in our own psyche. It's not a dramatic and expansive descent into a vast tunnel network, but is more like a small crawl space, a hidden room in your house's roof. The place in the house where things nobody wants to look at is stored within. It's not so much notes from the below, but it's notes from a place that we deem shouldn't be seen. And that is your conscious. That is the part of your mind that broadcasts its commentary while your face holds a smile at the people around you. The part that replays conversations at 2 a.m. The part that keeps score when you pretend not to. Dostoevsky is not writing about a strange man in a basement. He's writing about the chamber that exists inside all of us that we've collectively agreed not to talk about. The underground is also a spatial and metaphorical image. It alludes to isolation, distance from other people, from sunlight, from the normal flow of life. The underground man has retreated there not because society threw him out, but because his own consciousness drove him there. And as you'll see, the deeper you think, the easier it is to end up in the underground. The underground man is a 40-year-old retired civil servant. He lives alone in St. Petersburg. He's neither poor nor rich, not famous, but also not entirely unknown to the community. He is, by most measures, considered rather unremarkable. He doesn't even have a name in the book. But inside his head, he is everything. He's more perceptive than the people around him. He sees their contradictions, their vanity, and even their self-deception. He understands philosophy, history, human nature. He is genuinely intelligent. Dostoevsky doesn't mock him by making him stupid. That would be too easy and literal. The underground man is intelligent enough to understand everything, and he is unable to do anything because of such intelligence. Dostoevsky calls this the overly conscious, too much awareness, too many layers of thought between the impulse and the action. When a normal man hits a wall, he accepts it and life continues. The underground man hits a wall and starts to intellectualize it, so much so that he becomes paralyzed and doesn't do anything about it at all. He's the smartest person in every room he enters, and it ultimately destroyed him. In the book, when the underground man was plagued by a toothache for a month, he produced moans from the pain. He starts to notice that this moaning isn't just the product of the pain itself, it becomes a performance in which he finds joy. He realizes that the moaning isn't helping to relieve the pain. He does it for someone to notice his struggles. He inflates the importance of his existence through the pain he is experiencing, letting others hear his exaggerated moans. And he knows it's pathetic. He knows that he's doing it, yet keeps doing it anyway. We can think of it as strangely sick and fawning behavior from him. But how often do we use struggle to increase the perceived strength and importance of so many different things in our life? From struggles in the gym, to strict diets and routines and schedules and the dismantling of societal norms. And we seem to enjoy this struggle and the imagining of how people would respond to it. Dostoevsky described this in 1864. Before social media, before all the content, and before the attention economy of the modern day. He knew that humans don't just suffer, we perform suffering. We shape it, frame it, and present it. Because witnessed pain feels more real than the unwitnessed. This is by no means a criticism. The underground man isn't evil for doing this. He's simply human for doing this. The question is whether we are aware of it. The underground man despises the idea of following a societal formula with his entire being, even ones that promise great outcomes and hint at the possibility of utopia itself. He understands that humans will always sabotage their own happiness just to prove their freedom. Give a person everything they need, make them comfortable, keep them fed, give them safety and optimize their life, and inevitably they will do something stupid or something self-destructive, just to prove that they're not a pawn in a chessboard being directed, that they're not something predictable. He writes that even if you could mathematically prove that a certain choice leads to maximum benefit, a man would deliberately choose the opposite, just to show that the choice was his all along. Freedom for Dostoevsky is not the permission or ability to choose correctly, it's the ability to choose badly. And we often exercise that ability even at a great cost to ourselves. The gap between knowing and being, that is the underground. You can live there for an entire lifetime, knowing who you should be, knowing what the right thing is, understanding yourself in great detail and doing nothing with any of it. The underground man believes he is the exception, the one person in this world who truly sees, truly suffers, and truly deserves more than what the mediocrity of life had given him. He might even be right about some of it. He probably is more perceptive than the officers who ignore him or the acquaintances who mock and laugh at him. But it just doesn't matter. Because you can be everything in your mind, but without the action to back it up, you're just as ordinary as anyone else. The underground man is humbled by the thought of irrelevance. The world did not crush his spirit, the world simply continued without noticing him. His depth, his suffering, his overly conscious mind, none of it created a ripple. And I think this is the part that is genuinely hard to hear for many people. Especially in today's world of believing in yourself, knowing your worth, and the trusting the process culture. Dostoevsky is not saying don't believe in yourself. He's saying that belief without contact with reality is just as imaginary as utopia's a perfect world. Because here's what I've learned. The gap between your internal world and your external world is not permanent. It's not identity. It's a skill that can be nourished and refined. The book is named Notes from Underground, not Escape from Underground. In fact, the underground man never leaves. He keeps writing, and those very notes are the trap. The endless self-examination, the brilliant analyses that no one except himself would see, the perfect philosophical articulation of every flaw, every wound, every failed encounter he's ever had. It feels like progress, it feels like action, but in fact, this is the most sophisticated form of being stagnant. The question Dostoevsky leaves us with is not, are you the underground man? We all are to different degrees. The question is, what will you do about it? Will you just continue taking notes, or are you finally going to do something?